Okay, can you see my screen يا شباب؟ السلام عليكم. Hello.
عليكم السلام. إيه نشوفها.
بارك الله فيكم. Okay, we were talking about database storage. How do we store our tables in the disk? So we talked a lot about disk itself, okay, storage. So what did I say about disk? As I told you, disk contains platters, isn't it? It also contains what? Each platter is divided into tracks. Each track is sectors, very good. تكلمنا عن cylinder, isn't it?
Yes.
Okay. Very good. تكلمنا عن seek time. تكلمنا عن rotational latency. تكلمنا عن transfer time. Okay. So this is what we covered last time. Do you have any questions in any one of this, Shabab? Let me just repeat. Seek time means the time that the head of the arm moves from one sector, from one track to another track. The time that takes to move it from one track to another track. مثلا, simply what I am saying is to move this. شفتوا هذا? Let me just tools. To move this from this position maybe to this position or to back to this position and so on. That movement we call it a sig movement. Rotational latency, which is the second one here, rotational latency, it is a time that it takes until, suppose you want to read this sector فقط, then you have to wait until that sector rotates and comes underneath the head. So that waiting time, it's called rotational latency. Then once this sector reaches underneath the head, then we start reading, and the reading also takes time. That time of reading, the actual reading time, it's called transfer time. فاتكلمنا عن الثلاث أشياء هذول يا شباب. And so we covered all of this. Do you have any question before I go forward?
No, thank you. Go ahead.
Okay, let's go ahead now. Now, I don't really want you to think about a disk. It has platters, it has tracks, it has sectors and so on. Physically, it is like this one. But logically, we like to think about it in a different way. يعني نبغى نتخيلها بطريقة مختلفة. Okay? This is why I want you to imagine it. I want to imagine it like this. Disk looks like this. We also talked about tracks, معلش. Also, I talked about tracks. No, blocks, sorry. Tracks already عندنا, blocks. What did I say about blocks, Shabab? You remember? A block consists of what? Of 1 or 2 or 4 or 8.
Number of sectors.
Number of sectors. We call them a block. صحيح? We call that a block. معناتها ممكن يكون 1 sector, ممكن يكون 4, ممكن يكون 2, ممكن يكون 8. It's up to you. You decide what you want your block equal to. معي ولا? Now, why do we care about a block? The reason we care about a block is when we go from the disk, we bring a block of information. We don't bring 1 byte or 2 bytes. Even if we want 1 byte or 1 bit or whatever it is, we only can bring, when we go to the disk, we bring a whole block. Also, when we write a block. So the reading from a disk is blockwise, also the writing is blockwise. Is that clear, Shabab? عشان كده block is very, very important. يعني. Okay? Now, so what we are going to do is the following. Assume this is how I want you to envision it. يعني أبغاكم تتخيلوا الديسك هو بالطريقة دي. Assume this is a disk. And disk, don't talk, we will not talk about sectors. We are not going to talk about cylinders والحاجات دي. But we are going to talk about blocks. Now, we will assume that the disk is divided into blocks. The disk is divided into what? Into blocks. So you assume of each rectangle here is a block. A block. A block can be 1 sector, it can be 2, it can be 4, it can be 8, it can be 16, it can be any 2 to the power of n sectors. So in fact, what you should do is you should think of a disk as an array of blocks. Forget about sector, forget about cylinder الحين كل حاجة. Just think about it this way. عشان تفهم ايش الداتابيز بالضبط يعني. normally a block في الداتابيز دائما نحبها تكون around 4K تقريبا او 8K 4 كيلو بايت او كمان ايش 8 كيلو بايت. Are you with me? And the blocks are numbered. Let's say this is block number 0, this is block number 1, block number 2, block number 3, block number 4, block number 5, block number 6, block number 7, block number 8, block number 9, number 10. So they start from 0 until the end. So these are called blocks. For example, if your computer's hard disk is 1 terabyte مثلا اقسمها على 4K. These are the number of blocks اللي عندك. يعني عندك ملايين البلوكس. Is that point clear? Is that clear? Okay, very good. So for example 1 terabyte يعني in short is around 10 to the power of 12 تقريبا يعني صحيح؟ Am I right? And
yes.
K is around 4 times 10 to the power of 3 يعني تقريبا يعني okay. So roughly talking about حتى لو هنا يعني roughly we are talking about how much? Okay, we are talking about 25 times okay يعني 10 to the power of 7. Which is how much? Which is 250 blocks عندنا يعني. لو عندك 1 تيرا بايت عدد البلوكات حقك حيكون ايش؟ مش حيكون 11 زي اللي عندي هذا لا. There will be 250 million what they call blocks عندك معناتها in 1 تيرا بايت if it is 4K. Is this clear for you يا شباب؟ Is this clear?
Yes, it's clear.
Oh, very good. So if this is clear, now
دكتور.
Yes, please.
Sorry, I have a question. But
no problem, you have to ask. Yes.
Now each block have a number, right?
Yes, it is numbered. Yes, by the operating system. Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Then does these numbers these numbers take place in the storage? So isn't it a problem? Because
Okay,
it
no
take
problem.
space.
What happens is the operating system طبعا يعني everything takes space يعني but we don't really care. The operating system will occupy طبعا الاوبريتنج سيستم هياخد جزء من الهارد ديسك والسوفت وير هياخد جزء من الهارد ديسك and so on يعني. So this whole block is not going to be for your database definitely.
Oh, okay.
بعدين ان شاء الله هتاخدوا كورس في الاي سي اس 431 they will exactly tell you how these numbers are stored يعني. Okay, there are many techniques they use. في حاجه اسمها paging, في حاجه اسمها segmentation, في حاجه الحاجات دي. So they will show you all these things, don't worry ان شاء الله. These are the memory. Also for the disk we have something else يعني. Yes. So the operating system will talk about this one inshallah. How to save files for disk. This will be covered inshallah in ICS 431 in detail inshallah. لما تدرس the operating system course. Okay?
Okay, thank you.
Very good. Now, so what are we going to study? Now, let's say I have a table like this. I have a table like this. Let's take the employee table. It can be millions of rows. It's just 8 rows in our example, but it can be many يعني. So how do we store it في الديسك طبعا all that information of your data is في الديسك موجود يعني. It's in the disk, isn't it? But where is it in the disk? That we don't know. Also, we don't care يعني. Okay, but what we care is the following. How many blocks will you think this will take? If each block is 4K, 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 okay, assume each block is 4 kilobytes يعني, which is 4096 bytes يعني. So how many blocks do you think this table will take? The employee table. It depends. How long is each record? Now let's assume John, the first name, when you create the first name, how many characters قلت أنت? قلت 15 characters. 15 characters equals to 15 bytes. Character equals to 1 byte. This is 15 bytes. This is 1 byte. This is 15 bytes. This is exactly 9 bytes. Now, طبعا الvar char word char are different. When I say char is 9, it's exactly 9 bytes. But when I say varchar 15, it can be 3, it can be 4, it depends. For example, for Mr. John, where is Mr. John? Mr. John, first name is John, only 4 bytes. So, but maximum is 15 bytes. But let's just make our life easy. Let's assume this would be maximum 15, maximum 15, maximum 9, maximum 1, maximum 30, maximum 1, maximum 10, maximum 9, maximum 4, and so on. Okay? You don't have to remember how many is integer, how many. I will tell you about these things, don't worry. So let's assume that on the average, every employee takes around, let's say 200 bytes. مثلا assume that. So if we assume that every employee takes 200 bytes, معناته ايش؟ معناته he will take 200 200 200 200 200 كلهم حيكونوا 200 200 200 طبعا department locations. This is how many حياخذوا مثلا. If this is مثلا 30 bytes, this is only maybe 4 bytes. This is 34 bytes, 34. So each record here takes 34 bytes. Each record here takes 200 bytes مثلا يعني. So the number of bytes for each record is different, depends on the record size. معايا ولا يا شباب؟ If the record size is long and so on, then the number of bytes for each row will be for example, for department location, each row is 34, each row is 200, maybe each row is 100 here, maybe each row is 72 here, and so on. Is this clear يا شباب؟ Okay. If that's clear, let me continue now. Let's assume I have an employee table, and the employee table contains, instead of 8, let's assume my employees are 1,000 employees. I have 1,000 employees, and each employee record is 200 bytes. 200 bytes. Tell me how many of these blocks do I need to store this table, employee table? Can you do simple calculation and let me know, ya shabab?
Yes, please. Just wait, please.
Okay, very good. Okay, so let's do it together. I will show you how to do it. Okay, you got it already?
50.
لا في بالضبط يعني في معلومات
200.
في معلومات تقريبا يعني في معلومات ما كلمتكم عنها. First of all, this is 4K. 4K معناتها ايش؟ 4000 how much؟ 4096 معي ولا ايه؟ bytes. Each record how many bytes هو؟ 200. So قسمها على 200. This will tell us what? The number of rows per what? Per block. Are you with me? هذا يسموه blocking factor نسميه BFR, blocking factor. Blocking factor simply means BFR is equals to the number of what? The number of rows of the employee table per block. So if the block is 4096 and every row is 200, so how many rows can I put here? Take the floor يا شباب. I will tell you why you have to take the floor إن شاء الله بعدين. So if you calculate this one تقريبا هذا حيطلع لك حوالي 20 صحيح؟ يعني اعتبر هذا 4000 على 200 يعني صحيح؟ Are you with me يا شباب ولا لا؟
Yes, it's 20.
So I can put 20 records here, 20 records here, 20 records here, 20 records here, 20 records here. But how many records do I have? These are my employees. How many employees do I have? I have 1,000 employees. صحيح? So if I can put 20 here and 20 here and 20 here and 20 here, how many blocks do I need? So I need, if I have 1,000, what they call 1,000 employees, معناتها عندي 1,000 records, not 8 بس. اقسمها على 20. كل 20 هيكون في block صحيح؟
Yes.
This will give me how much?
50.
50. So it means I need 50 blocks. So I need 50 of this one. عندي 11 بس لا المفروض يكون عندي زيادة يعني. So I need more than, I need 50 blocks. Is this clear how I calculated it يا شباب?
Doctor, I have a question. Not about how you calculated, but
About 4096.
Yes, the 4096 is given to you.
Okay.
It is given, yes. Sorry for not saying that. Yes, 4000 is given to you. So when you are a DBA, what you do is you talk to a person called a system administrator. You tell him, format for me the disk and make every block 4096. So when you are going to format, it will be decided. Did you get my point?
Mm-hmm. Okay. And
So
the 200 below it is the row numbers, right?
For the employee table, each row, how much space it takes.
Okay.
So what I am saying is this row, the first row takes 200 bytes. The second row, another 200 bytes. يعني اعتبر on the average يعني.
Yes.
200 bytes 200 bytes 200 bytes. وعندي مش 8 ما عنديش 8 موظفين عندي 1000 موظف يعني صحيح. So this was my question. So for this table in which the average record is 200 bytes and I have 1000 employees, not only 10, how many blocks do I need for the employee table? So this was the question. Is this the question clear again يا شباب؟ جات الناس اللي جيتوا متأخرين and maybe you didn't get me. So I have 1000 records which are 1000 employees. Each employee is taking 200 bytes. So how many blocks do I need? So first of all, what is the size of the block, which is 4006? What is the size of each record, which is 200? So if you divide this by this, then you will take what, 20 point something, but we don't put the decimal. We just put the integer يعني 20. Why? Because if I say 20.3 مثلا معناته I have to save the 0.3 هنا or the 0.7 في محل ثاني يعني. So we don't want to divide the record into two different blocks. So remove, okay, if there's a fraction, just take the floor. Are you familiar مع الفلور يا شباب؟ I'm sure you are familiar. Yes. Okay.
Doctor,
so yes, please.
Always we will take the floor.
Always take the floor. Always. We don't want to divide the record number 21 between two blocks. Every record we want it to be in one block. فهمت قصدي؟
Yeah, but I mean if we take the ceiling rather than 4.
If you take the
ceiling.
the ceiling معناته ايش؟ You cannot save 21 records. لو اخذنا السيلينج شفت الحين كان حيكون كم هذا؟ حيكون 21 صحيح؟
Yes.
But can I put 21 في 4096؟ 21 يحتاج مني قد ايش؟ 21 يحتاج مني كل واحد منهم 200 صحيح؟ I don't have space. البلوك مش حيكفيني.
اوكي.
هيحتاج مني ايش؟ 4200 هيحتاج مني. لو دخلت كل ال 21 ريكوردز هيحتاج مني 4200. انا ما عنديش 4200 عندي 4096 فقط صحيح؟
Yes.
So عشان كده I don't have enough for 21. I have enough for 20 only. But I can put 20 point something. فهمت علي؟ عشان 20 هياخذوا مني 4000 بالضبط صحيح؟
Yes.
باقي لي 69 صحيح؟
Yes.
So what I can do is ال 69 ممكن اخليهم في البلوك هذه والباقي 69 حيكون كم؟ حوالي 104 هخليهم في بلوك ثانيين معي ولا ايه؟
Yes.
So what I am saying is I will store the 20 of them completely here, but the number 21 I only have 96 bytes left. So the number 21 is also 200 bytes. هو موظف برضه عنده 200 bytes. So I can put 96 bytes من عنده هنا. I have space for them. صحيح؟ طيب الباقي ال 104 I have to put it in a different block. And we don't want to do that one because later on when we read I have to go to Pluto twice to collect that information of that record, which we don't want to do. So what you should do is just take the whole numbers. I will put 20 here, but not 21, not 20 point something, just 20. Am I making sense to you, Shabab?
Yes. Yes. Thank you.
Very good.
Yes.
Yeah. Any other question? Okay, so this is how we store the tables in disks. So one table, it depends how big it is, depends on the number of records it has. Also, it depends on the size of each record. Then from those two, you can calculate how much block it will take in the disk. Okay, now this is 50 blocks. Did you get how I found the 50 blocks, ya Shabab? Is that clear for you? Because يعني, you will have a lot of questions in the final. to make sure you understand it. Is this clear?
Yes.
How I got the blocks. Okay, now if I want to read this table from, let's say if I have a select statement, select star from the employee table الحين, I have to go and read all the information, all the 1000 records from what? From the disk, right? So what do I have to do? I have to go to the disk and I have to visit all the 50 what? All the 50 blocks, one by one. I have to read that block, get 200 of them, get 20 of them, read the second block, get the next 20, and so on, one by one. I have to read them. So I have to go to Pluto, how many times? 50 times, my wallah. Because each time I go to disk, Pluto هو disk يا شباب. Each time I go to disk, I can read only one block, isn't it? Because I told you the reading from a disk is done by blocks. You read a block at a time. Am I making sense to you?
Yes, mate.
Okay, very good. Thank you very much. So now, how do we store this information? I will show you two ways. In fact, I will show you three ways. One way is heap. Heap معناته ايش؟ Don't sort the data هنا, just store them. أول 20 خدتهم في مع block, ال 20 اللي بعده put them in the second block and so on without sorting anything يعني. Is that a problem يا شباب? Let's assume the following. Let's assume that to read a disk block consumes 8 milliseconds. 8 milliseconds. فهمتوا قصدي يا شباب؟ To read one block, we always read block by block يا شباب, isn't it? Let's assume to read one block will consume 8 milliseconds. Tell me to read all the 50 blocks will consume how much? Multiply 50 by what يا شباب? By 8 milliseconds, صحيح? By the way, a millisecond is 1000 of a second, صحيح? So this will consume how much? 400 what? milliseconds. milliseconds. حوالي نص ثانية يعني. Okay? It's a millisecond. So this is how much it will consume to read. Well, that's why it is very fast. Do you think it is very fast? millisecond أقل من ثانية صحيح؟
Yes, but I think it's not fast.
It's not.
I think.
Maybe for the employee table, 50 blocks is not that problem, صحيح?
Yes, but in others, no.
Yeah,
it's a problem.
Let's take the Chinese population, okay? Let's take the Chinese population الحين. How much is the Chinese population? Let's assume it is 1 billion, صحيح?
Yes.
Which is 10 to the power of 9, صحيح? Let's say I have a table, and in this table I'm going to store every Chinese person here. So one row, one person. So how many rows do you think I will have? Let me call this one Chinese population CP table, CPT. So CPT is a table that contains every Chinese. زي الأبشرة اللي عندنا هنا في السعودية. Have you seen أبشر? It has a complete information of everybody في السعودية, isn't it?
Yes.
Let's assume this is Abshir for the Chinese people. So it's a table that contains all the information of all the Chinese people. It can be in many tables, but let's just assume it is all in one table. And let's assume the following. Each Chinese person will consume 400 bytes. Is 400 bytes كتير يا شباب? How much do you consume انت في الأبشر انت لحالك؟
I don't know, but I think it's
it's
bytes.
megabytes, isn't it?
Yes.
لو دخلنا مثلا هل الصورة حقك في الأبشر موجودة ولا مش موجودة؟
Yes. It's
الصورة حقك لحالها تاخذ يعني الفينجر برينتس حقك، الاسم حقك، الايج حقك، الديت اوف بيرث حقك، السيارات حقك، طلعت امتى من السعودية ورجعت امتى من السعودية، كل الانفورميشن. In fact it is megabytes. But let's just take an easy one. Let's assume it is only 400 bytes. Let's assume that Chinese are not that يعني they don't have a good system like ours. They only have 400 bytes of information from each Chinese person في الأبشر حقتهم. Let's assume that, okay? Now let me store them for disk. Let's assume I have big disk and it contains many blocks. Many blocks. Okay, now, and each block takes 4K. 4006 bytes. Assume it is 4000, my مشكلة. Assume it is 4000. Tell me how many disk blocks do I need to store all the CPT records? First of all, let's compute the blocking factor. How many records do I put? Can you tell me? The block is 4006, right?
Is it 10?
Excellent, it's 10. And every record is 400 bytes. مش قلنا كده اتفقنا؟
Yes.
So if you take the floor, so it means 10. What does it mean? It means I will put 10 records here, 10 records here, 10 records here, and so on and so on. But how many records do I have? I have 10 to the power of how many records? 10 to the power of 9 records. Very good. Now tell me how many blocks do I need?
10 to the power of 10.
10 to the power of 8.
Oh,
Because,
sorry. 8.
Yeah. Each 10 will be in a block. فكل 10 حيكون في بلوك، ال10 اللي بعد حيكون في بلوك، ال10 اللي بعد حيكون في بلوك. عندي 10 to the power of 9 records. So the number of blocks will be 10 to the power of 9 divided by 10. So these are the number of records. This is 10 records per block. So the number of blocks will be 10 to the power of 8. تتفقوا معي شباب ولا لا؟
Yes.
Very good. Now let me write a select statement. Select star from CPT لو قلت الحين. How many blocks do I need to read? I'm reading every Chinese because there is nowhere. I'm not filtering anyone. I'm reading all of the Chinese population. So it means I have to go to the disk and read all this information. تتفقوا معي ولا لا يا شباب? Is that clear for you?
Yes.
Yes.
Very good. Tell me how much time this will take. If each block takes 8 milliseconds. So this will take 10 to the power of 8 blocks, Andy, isn't it? So multiply this by how much? Times 8 milliseconds, which is 8 milliseconds مع 10 to the power of 10 to minus 3 seconds. I converted to seconds شباب. اوكي يا شباب؟ اقسم 8 على 1000 يعني معناتها a millisecond I converted into what? So this will consume 8 times 10 to the power
13,000 hours?
yeah, in fact I think it's around 9 days. Did you get my point, Shabab?
Yes.
So if you calculate this one, this is in seconds, convert it into minutes, convert it into hours, convert it into days, okay? I think most probably if you do it now, I remember it was 9 days, more than 9 days. Is that
9.25.
9.25 days, thank you very much. So it means when you write this select statement, you press enter, you have to sit in your chair for 9 days until you get the answer. Okay? If this is the way to do it, Shabab, nobody would use the database if this was a problem. This is the reason. If this is the time that will consume, just write a very simple select statement. Okay? I will show you, inshallah, not in this section, in the next section, inshallah. Not only that, you can read this one. And this select statement is a little bit different. I will show you how to read any particular. No, for example, I will come back to this one. Okay, I will come back to this one. Now, the problem is the following. Let's say that I want to for a particular Chinese person. So where his ID, I only want one Chinese person, is equals to 1114970. His ID, whatever his ID is here. Now tell me, how long do I have to wait until I get the information of this person? Where is this person, first of all? Do I know on which block is he? If I know on which block is he, I can go to the block. It will just consume 8 milliseconds. But yes. if I don't know where he is, this will consume 9 days, maybe at the worst. So what you should do is, we have to be careful when we store the records into blocks. We have to really arrange them in a way that later on, if I have a select statement with a where clause like this, then I can find him very quickly. Did you get my point, Shabab?
Can you give me example how to store it in the blocks?
How to?
You said we must.
How to store it, يعني?
Yes.
Oh yeah. We'll talk about it. In fact, in my next class, not after this chapter, I will show you how to store. And we are going to use something called B+3. You took B+3 in ICS 202, صحيح؟
Yes.
So we will use B+3. Using B+3, in fact, you can find any person in this what they call in this table in less than a few milliseconds. And I will show you how.
Is it the best search method?
B+3 is the best up to now, for many reasons, and I'll talk about it. Okay. Now, this is called indexing. We'll talk about it, inshallah, in the next chapter. But in this chapter, I just want to show you how records are stored. One way, sorry, Shabab. One way is heap. Heap معناته I will store the records as they come. I don't care where everybody is. I will just, okay, get a block, put 10 into it. Get the next block, put 10 into it, and so on. And then later on, when I want to find for somebody, then I will have a problem because I don't know where he is, isn't it? I will give an example. Let's say in KVPM we have 1,000 rooms, from room number 1 up to room number, let's say room number 1,000. Then I have 10,000 KVPM students. Then, okay, I told everybody please gather. So you gather, let's say I gathered all the 10,000 students in the stadium. Okay, KVPM stadium. Let's assume it fits all of you. Say. Then I will say, yeah, hello students, we have 1,000 rooms. So I want every 10 students to go in one of the rooms. Just any room, it doesn't matter, just go, but not more than 10 students. So I want every 10 students to be in a room. Then the students will go and they will occupy. So this kind of arrangement. Have I sorted them? No. I just told them go and occupy a room. So the 10,000 students, they will go and everybody will find a room, will find a chair in the room, because there are only 10 chairs per room, assume. And whenever he finds an empty chair, he will just sit down there. So this kind of arrangement is called heap, ya shabab. It's like a random arrangement. Now let's assume I want to find a particular student in this 1,000 rooms. How would I search for him, ya shabab? How would I search for him?
Room by room.
Room by room, because I don't know where he is, isn't it? So I have to go to room number 1, check. Is Flan here? He said no. Oh, let me go to room number 2. Then to room number 3, to room number 4. If I am lucky, he will be in the first room, of course. But if I am not lucky, he will be in room number 1,000. So on the average, how many rooms do I have to check? 500 rooms, isn't it? On the average. You agree with me?
Yes.
Yes, because I don't know where he is. So the same thing with this Chinese table. Assume that each block is like a room and you can put only 10 records per block. If you just store the records randomly in this 10 to the power of 8 blocks, then when you want to find a particular person whose ID is by, let's say this, you don't know where he is. So what you have to do is you have to go block by block and by block by block and try to find him. And this will take a lot of time. So this is a very bad way to search. Do you have a better way, ya shabab? For my students, let's go back to the students. Do you have a different way of sorting the students? Of
Yes, there is.
Depending on what?
Depending on the names, maybe the age.
Or maybe the ID, صحيح? Maybe the ID,
Yes,
isn't it?
the ID, yeah.
Yeah. So what I will say is I will sort you first of all by ID. I will tell you, okay, the first 10, which is ID, this is, and go to room number 1. This is go to room number 2. Then I will sort you according to your ID. Those who are new students, which are the 2020 or 2019 students, they will be at the end, yani, the orientation students, because your ID is high. Now, if I do that, if I look for a particular student whose ID is 2016, 44440, I don't know how many numbers we have. Let's assume we have a student something like that. How do I find him, Shabab? I don't have a list with me, but I know where do I find, where do I look for this student? How do I find him?
It will be in the first 20 room, I think, because 2016.
Maybe, Yani, if you take it that way, you're right. But what I will do is I will do like a binary search, isn't it? What I will do is I will go to the middle room first, room number 500, say. Then I will see those guys who are, okay, those, I will look for my student. If this number here is less than the highest number in room number 500, then where do I go next? This is less. To which room do I go? ما فهمتني يا شباب. Let me show you this way. These are my 1,000 rooms. Room number 1, room number 2, up to room number 1,000. This is room number 500. So what I will do, I know the students are sorted, but I don't have the list, you know, who is where exactly. I don't have, but I know they are sorted. So when I'm looking for a particular student, I can use a binary search algorithm. انت اخذتوا الباينري search ولا ما اخذتوا؟ اخذتوه مش كده؟
Yes.
Yes.
When the data is sorted, you can use binary search. If they are not sorted, you cannot, of course. Yeah. So now they are sorted. So what I will do is I will start from room number 500. Then I will check the students here. If the student that I'm looking for is less, his ID is less than these guys which are here, then where shall I go? Shall I go this way or shall I go that way, Shabab?
Right.
Right.
Left.
Which room? Which room exactly? This is room 500.
Room 250.
Yeah, go to room 250. انتوا نسيتوا الباينري سيرش ولا ايش يا شباب؟ Go to room 50, the one in the middle, say.
Yes.
Yes.
But if it was higher than this, I should have gone to room 750, isn't it?
Yes.
Yes.
Now go to room 100 and 250. Last time this is room 250. Then check again the IDs. Now, if you find that the ID that you are looking for is higher than this guy is here, where do I go, Shabab?
Left.
I go to the room which is between 250 and 500. What is the room? Just add this to it, divide by 2. 750 على 200 كم يعطيك؟ على 2 sorry. Room 300 and what?
350.
75 تقريبا. Am I right? Yes, تقريبا. Okay. So I go to room 375. So I will keep doing this one until what? Until I get my what? My person. صحيح? So how much do you think it will cost me? How many blocks do I have to read to find him? At worst, in the worst. By the way, I can be lucky. Maybe he's in this room. يعني. صحيح?
Yes.
So I can find him على طول هنا يعني. But if I am not lucky, how many rooms do I have to check to find him? Log 2. How many rooms do I have? 1,000 صحيح؟ اوكي شكلكم نسيتوا خالص ICS202. Binary search.
We have forgot it.
You forgot it. So what you have to do is you have to find out log تقريبا حيكون كم هذا؟ Will give me how much?
10.
Okay, so is it 10? Which is 2 to the power of what? 2 to the power of?
2 to the power 10, it will be 1024.
تقريبا 2 to the power of 10 يعني. Okay, so this will be 10. Yeah, right. صحيح? So in fact, I am going to check maximum 10 rooms. and then I will find any person that I want. You got the point, Shabab?
Yes.
Now,
Yes.
what I can do is, instead of storing my employee table here randomly, then when I want to find a particular employee, I have to go from one room to another room. If I use a heap sorting, heap معناته not ordered, random, معي ولا يا شباب? But what I can do is, the probability, if I use heap, there is a probability that if this disk is stored, if these employees are stored in what they call in 50, then there is a probability that I will look all the 50. For the Chinese population, I will look all to the 10 to the power of 8. For KVPM students, I will have to look all the 1,000. That's a possibility, right? But if I use binary search, if I now, when I store them, I organize them by ID. If I use binary search, it will be much faster than what the linear search. For this one, I have to use linear search. But if they are sorted, I'm going to use what? I'm going to use a binary search. So simply what I'm saying is the following. If your records are not sorted, records of your tables are not sorted, if it is heap, then you have to use linear search. Linear search معناته you have to go block by block until you find him. He can be in the first block, he can be in the last block يعني. انت وحظك يعني. But on the average, this will consume how much? Half of the blocks يعني. What about if it is ordered? نسميها احنا sequential. Sequential معناته ordered. If it is sequential, then you can use binary search. Binary search. So in the linear, if the number of blocks is n, so this will consume n divided by 2. But in the if it is sorted sequentially, and if it's a binary search that you are using, then this will consume log of what? Log of 2 what? Log of 2n. Do you have any question here, Shabab, before I really go to a much more complicated thing? If you don't understand this, what I say today, Shabab, you cannot really continue understanding what's coming next, Shabab. So please ask me as much as you can. I don't want to talk about anything now. I just want to make sure that you understand these things. I want you to understand heap storage and sequential storage. Sequential معناتها sorted storage, heap معناتها not sorted at all. So the heap, when you do any search, you have to go one by one, one by one. We call this one a linear search. When it is sequential, then it is what? Then you can use binary search.
Sir.
Yes, please. Yes, please.
Sir, you say it'll take n over 2 time, where n
Yes.
is all the records.
Yes, yes.
So why would you divide it by 2 if they need to run through the whole heap?
Very good. No, here I'm looking for a particular student. Oh, sorry, that's an excellent question. Shabab, here I'm looking for a particular student, okay? Or for a particular record, or for a particular Chinese person. So, if, let's come back to our 1,000 rooms. Let's come back to our 1,000 rooms. Let's say I organized all my 10,000 students, 10 students per room in 1,000 rooms, but heap-wise. I didn't sort them at all. If I'm looking for a particular student, how am I going to search for him? I have to do it linearly, say. I will start from the first room because I don't know where he is. I have no clue. So what I will do is I will look for room number 1, then look number 2, then look number 3, then number 4, until I find him. Of course, if I'm lucky, he will be in the first room. But if I'm not lucky, what do you think he will be?
1,000 room.
In the last room, in the 1,000. So I have visited 1,000 rooms to find him. Okay? Now, I said on the average, if you are using linearly, on the average, it will cost you n over 2. N, in our case, is 1,000 rooms divided by 2, معناتها 500 rooms, isn't it? Now, why 500? The reason is, let's say I'm looking for, each time I'm looking for, let's say, 5 students. But one at a time, okay? So maybe the first student, he will be in the first room. Maybe the second student, maybe he will be in room number 1,000. The third student, maybe he's in room number 750. The other one, maybe room 250. So you find the number of rooms I visited. Sometimes I visit 500 rooms. Sometimes I visit 1,000 rooms. Sometimes I visit one room to find. Okay, each time I find a student, sometimes it will cost me this, sometimes it will cost me this, sometimes. So if you take the average of rooms that I visit, it will be around 500. This is what I mean. Does that make sense to you, Shabab? In the long run, the average will be around 500. Am I making sense to you, or is that clear?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
Okay. So when I write a select statement, and each time I want to select for a particular Chinese, and I have never sorted the Chinese, which are, so all the 10 to the power of 9 Chinese people now, they are in 10 to the power of 8 blocks. Now, I am using heap to store them. I have no clue on which block every Chinese person is. So when I write a select statement to find a particular Chinese person, sometimes he will be in the first block, the one I am looking for. The next time I am looking for a different Chinese person, maybe he will be in the last block. So if I keep selectors in such a way, معناته on the average, I'm looking to look for 10 to the power of 8 blocks divided by 2. So this is how much, this is expected what? Number of blocks. This is how much I will expect to consume me on the average. Am I making sense to you? Yes. And this is how many days, yes. Shabab? This is 4.5 days or 4.6 days تقريبا يعني. It's a lot of days. Just to find one person, on the average, it will consume 4.6 days.
Doctor?
Yes, please.
So what's the purpose for using heap?
I will talk about it inshallah. Heap لحاله ما ينفعش. We have to do something on the top of heap, something called indexing. And I will mention that one next class. No. Now, what about sequential? Sequential is good, ya shabab. For example, for the Chinese population, okay, sequential.
Yes, it's good.
Sequential will cost me how much, ya? 10 to the power of 8.
10 blocks. Yes.
No. For the Chinese, they are not. We have how many? We have 100 million blocks.
Yeah. Yes, sorry.
So log 2 of this. How much is that? Okay. This is a lot also. It's not that simple. فهمت علي? So even sequential, it's okay for what? For a number of blocks. But if the blocks are billions, even sequential, it will take some time. Even if it takes 2-3 minutes, it's a lot of time. Don't forget. In front of the computer sitting to get an answer, it will going to consume you 3 or 4 or 5 or 10 minutes. That's a lot of time. We want something which is what? Less than a second. Can I do that? Yes, you can do that one. And the next chapter will show you how to do that one. But this chapter will show you that if you just store things randomly or sequentially, it's not satisfying. Whether you use binary search or linear search, you will still take some time. طبعا linear search is better. بعدين في linear search. Let's take this student table. Let's say I am going to sort this. I'm going to put this one, sorted. Let me talk about sequential. Sequential معناته I'm going to sort them according to one of these attributes. Maybe according to what? According to SSN. معي ولا؟ Now, if I am going to search him by SSN, then it will be fast. I can use binary search. But I sorted them by SSN, but later on the person that I'm looking for, I'm going to sort him by name. I don't know his ID. I know his name. Then what do you think I will do? Let me give an example in the rooms. I told you, I told you to come to the stadium, and I told you, please, every 10 students to go to one room. But I sorted you according to your student KVPM ID. Now, later on, one of the fathers came. One of the students came, and he said, yeah, I want my son. I told him, do you know the ID of your son? No, I don't know. I just know his name. Yeah. I don't know his ID. Now you have to go to these 1,000 rooms, which are sorted by ID, to look for a person called, let's say, Ala or Sami. I'm looking for Sami. How do I find Sami now, Shab?
We sort both by ID and name.
No, I can't sort. I have only 1,000 rooms.
So, sir, you
How
need
can I
linear
sort?
search?
How can I sort them by ID and my name? I cannot. شوف الحين أنت I sort you by ID ودخلتك في ألف غرفة by ID. How can I sort you again by name? I cannot do that. It's impossible, صحيح? Physically.
Sir, you're forced
Yes.
to use linear?
We have to use linear. So the sorting will help you only if you are searching by the sorted attribute only. Let's say if I sort you by ID, then I'm looking by ID for the person I'm looking for, then it's okay, it will work. But if I sort you by ID and then I search you by name, خلاص, it is heap. Then I have to go and look for you one by one. Because I will go to each room, I will say, do you have Sami here, ya Shabab? He'll say no. Then I will go to room number 2. Do you have Sami here? So the IDs will not help you. Okay? Okay, Shabab, I think I will stop here. I will talk next class. I have something urgent came, okay? I think its time is also over. Thank you very much. We'll continue next class. Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you, Doctor. See you later.
Thank you. Bye.